why haven't somebody, and this is the big question for me, to anyone, and obviously, Ali, you're the superstar on the show tonight, but to anyone really, where is Parattici? Where is Fabio Parattici? He's the managing director of football, right? He is the leader of the football side. The football side is in utter crisis. Where is he? He hasn't even come out and said anything. I'm flabbergasted, team. And obviously, to Ali, so I suppose my question on that is, why has the club not come out and said anything?
I would say personally,
he's in his summer's handcuffs.
Yeah.
My word was going to be compromised. I was going to go for the word compromise. I feel like, I was actually even surprised. You remember he did the transfer window rap thing after? Even I was surprised at that, because he has really publicly gone way. Even he used to sit in the dugout, didn't he? He's now up there in the director's box. So I would imagine myself, look, I've called for this so many times. Daniel Levy should be talking. I'm sorry. The man at the top should be talking. I know he is this character that doesn't like that. He doesn't enjoy having to talk publicly in any way, but come on, when things are being said like this, that's the time to talk to the fans. This is why I've said it before, and I know there's a whole kind of movement to get him out there, and I understand a lot of the frustrations as well with the things people say, but I do think there's also an element of the fact that he's just this guy almost like in an ivory tower that no one really, there's no connection with the fans whatsoever.
Ali, it's like the Wizard of Oz, the fella behind the curtain almost, isn't he? He is, because no one knows who he is. It's just it's incredible. Sorry to cut you off, Flo, but I don't want to be on a rant tonight. I've done that quite a lot this week, but I'm just so angry. I'm tired. I'm fed up and tired of the same old stuff. It's tiring, Ali.
No, but you're right, and this is what Conte said, a couple of months back? He said, why am I that I shouldn't be the one that's having to say this? And that probably for me was the thing I most agreed with what he said. I've never understood it. It's a club that for some reason they just they almost hide behind people. They let people do their talking. It's always the manager. I always remember the one that stood out for me was after Mourinho got sacked. And there was a whole Super League nonsense going on. 29-year-old Ryan Mason was shoved out into a press conference. And that, for me, was the most telling moment of just not taking any ownership and responsibility for what you actually own and are responsible for. It's an interesting club. It's why it gives me so much to write and talk about every single week, because it seriously is a club like no other. I sometimes have no idea what goes through the minds there, and then sometimes just magical, wonderful things happening. Like we have these nights, like the night in Amsterdam. We have little things like that. We have the White Hart Lane finale, and there's so at different ends of the scale of the other kind of moments of mess that we see the club go through. It's just a crazy club. It's absolutely crazy.
How much, Ali, do you think the board need to take accountability and responsibility for what seems to now be Conte leaving the football club, and this appointment, once again, another one in their long list, not working?
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah, it's all there on the facts are on paper. We were talking about Arsenal earlier. In the same amount of time as Spurs have sacked 12 managers, Arsenal have had 3. And it just says it all. It's just like, how many mistakes can you make and not, I guess, learn something from it? Obviously, Pochettino was probably the biggest success they've had, the most stable time they've had. Yet even he was second choice. They wanted Van Gaal. They essentially, I think Baldini wanted Frank de Boer, and Levy wanted Poch after Van Gaal turned them down. And so they turned to Poch. Lo and behold, they suddenly find almost like a white knight, really, who massively overachieved with Spurs. A team that didn't have the finances because they were building the stadium. So you could say that even their biggest appointment was one they kind of almost, I wouldn't say they fell upon, that's unfair, but he was definitely their second choice. So, what direction would Van Gaal have taken him in? I'd imagine you're looking at another manager that's won trophies elsewhere that would have probably moaned about the lack of finance and the lack of everything. So yeah, of course you have to look at the board. You know me, and anyone that's listened or read my stuff knows my opinion very much. It's all of the above. It really is, and I think that's the saddest thing about where Spurs are at right now is they've fractured the fan base so much. There's so much infighting, and it's almost like you can't believe that. Some people will have you believe that you can only believe that one thing is wrong with the football club, and if you believe anything else, you're part of the problem and all this sort of stuff. And I find that so sad when I see stuff like that. I'm not the kind of person that, I get upset or annoyed if anyone says that about me. I don't care. Social media is what it is. It's always going to be an absolute emotional mess of a place. But I just find it really sad when you see fans attacking each other when they're probably both right. What they're saying, they've probably got really valid concerns on both sides. I do think, obviously this segment is just about the board. So in terms of the board, it's make your mind up. What's your identity? What is Tottenham Hotspur? What is the Tottenham Hotspur you want to produce? Don't come out and say in your programme notes about how we want to see this open, attacking, entertaining version of Tottenham Hotspur, and then you appoint Nuno as your next permanent manager. It makes no sense. You've got to, I hate to bring it back to the lot down the road, but essentially they've had a plan, they've stuck to it, they've backed the manager, and this is what they're now getting this season. And the saddest thing, this is why I said about the blueprint feeling very familiar, is that I look at Arsenal, I've got friends that are Arsenal fans, people I know that are Arsenal fans. They've never been more connected with their football club as they are right now. And I think all the Spurs fans had that. They were at a stage, maybe the 3 years in the middle under Poch, where I think I'd say, it's fair to say, the Spurs fans have never been as connected with the club. They kind of, everything, the players, the fans, the manager, probably not the board still at that point, but the players and the manager and the fans were certainly all connected in one big thing. And then it came out in the emotion of the White Hart Lane finale. I think you could see that as well. And it's just so sad that the board's constant lurching from one thing to the next, and trophy manager, project manager, just have a plan, have an idea, and be bold, be courageous about your decisions as well. Don't sometimes settle for the second choice player in the transfer kind of list you've got when the top one maybe would just knock you on that bit further. Certainly, that's what it is. And and they've ended up becoming such kind of figures of hate for some people, but also figures of fun to some people. It's almost like, Beyonce is going to be, the probably the biggest trophy winner at Tottenham in years to come, and all these things, and the Formula One deals and the NFL deals, which, if the club was being really kind of well run on the pitch, I think you'd look at all of that and say, what a fantastic way of creating finance for this football team when they can see everyone else is like a sovereign run club or clubs with huge cash reserves. Spurs are actually doing it a very kind of quite creative, clever way of bringing finances in. But the problem is, if you've got no success on the field, everyone just looks at that as, oh yeah, well done, lads. Well done, you got Beyonce at the stadium. Whee, that's great. Won a trophy and all that kind of sort of stuff. Whereas if they'd actually got what they're doing right on the pitch, I think they'd actually be praised for a lot of the off the pitch stuff they're doing. But as it is, that it just shines a light on them looking like a business rather than a football club. And that's just their biggest thing. It's maybe not taking criticism and understanding it and reacting to it in the right way. I think that's